This presentation that you're about to see is for your graffiti style name lesson. It is a 3-part presentation, and the first part of it, we're going to be talking about introducing graffiti and its styles. So let's begin. In this lesson, our objectives are 3. We will learn what is graffiti. We will discover the types of graffiti, and we will understand a little bit about color theory. We need it in order to create our artwork. The products that we will be making are creating our own graffiti name. We will create an artwork with a specific color scheme. To begin, let's watch this short video about what is graffiti.
Spray-painted subway cars, tagged bridges, mural-covered walls. Graffiti pops up boldly throughout our cities. It can make statements about identity, art, empowerment, and politics, while simultaneously being associated with destruction. And, it turns out, it's nothing new. Graffiti, or the act of writing or scribbling on public property, has been around for thousands of years. And across that span of time, it's raised the same questions we debate now. Is it art? Is it vandalism? In the 1st century BCE, Romans regularly inscribed messages on public walls, while oceans away, Mayans were prolifically scratching drawings onto their surfaces. And it wasn't always a subversive act. In Pompeii, ordinary citizens regularly marked political campaign slogans, and even messages to champion their favorite gladiators. Some, including the Greek philosopher Plutarch, pushed back, deeming graffiti ridiculous and pointless. But it wasn't until the 5th century that the roots of the modern concept of vandalism were planted. At that time, a barbaric tribe known as the Vandals swept through Rome, pillaging and destroying the city. But it wasn't until centuries later that the term vandalism was actually coined, in an outcry against the defacing of art during the French Revolution. And as graffiti became increasingly associated with deliberate rebellion and provocativeness, it took on its vandalist label. That's part of the reason why today, many graffiti artists stay underground. Some assume alternate identities to avoid retribution, while others do so to establish camaraderie and make claim to territory. Beginning with the tags of the 1960s, a novel overlap of celebrity and anonymity hit the streets of New York City and Philadelphia. Taggers used coded labels to trace their movements around cities while often alluding to their origins. And the very illegality of graffiti making that forced it into the shadows also added to its intrigue and growing base of followers. The question of space and ownership is central to graffiti's history. Its contemporary evolution has gone hand in hand with counterculture themes. While these movements raised their anti-establishment voices, graffiti artists likewise challenged established boundaries of public property. They reclaimed subway cars, billboards, and even once went so far as to paint an elephant in the city zoo. Political movements, too, have used wall writing to visually spread their messages. During World War II, both the Nazi Party and resistance groups covered walls with propaganda. And the Berlin Wall's one-sided graffiti can be seen as a striking symbol of repression versus relatively unrestricted public access. As the counterculture movements associated with graffiti become mainstream, does graffiti too become accepted? Since the creation of so-called graffiti unions in the 1970s and the admission of select graffiti artists into art galleries a decade later, graffiti has straddled the line between being outside and inside the mainstream. And the appropriation of graffiti styles by marketers and typographers has made this definition even more unclear. The once unlikely partnerships of graffiti artists with traditional museums and brands have brought these artists out of the underground and into the spotlight. Although graffiti is linked to destruction, it's also a medium of unrestricted artistic expression. Today, the debate about the boundary between defacing and beautifying continues. Meanwhile, graffiti artists challenge common consensus about the value of art and the degree to which any space can be owned. Whether spraying, scrawling, or scratching, graffiti brings these questions of ownership, art, and acceptability to the surface.
There are different types of graffiti depending on the stage of completion that the graffiti writing is in. Let's learn about that.
Tag, throw up, piece, and then burner. Above burner is production. So tagging is just tagging. Everyone has a tag. That's your name. It's like your signature. So that's where you start, really. You start with a signature. That's your tag. From tagging, you go to developing throw-ups. A throw-up is just a big bubble of your name. It could be a 2-letter throw-up. It could be a 1-letter throw-up. It could be a character like Twist did. It's something that you do quick. So a piece is something that takes more time than a throw-up. It's not as quick. It's more, you slow down. Your lines are cleaner and neater. You fill in less haphazardly. You're filling in solid. It could be an all silver piece or all white. It could be all one color, or it could be multicolors, you know? And the more colors you put into it, then that becomes a burner. That's the best you can do. You go all out. A fully finished, fully colored, fully rendered. It's got special effects like highlights and shines and 3D on it and a background for like a cloud. It's got all the bells and whistles. Above burner is production. That's when a few guys get together, either marry their pieces by color scheme, marry it by style, and then you have a background, a common background, you know? And then it could have a caption across the top, either the crew name, or it could say, "We're the baddest." That, or have characters on the ends or in the middle. That's a production. Tag, throw up, piece, burner, production.
Let's summarize. A tag is a stylized signature normally done in one color, like what we see in this picture. It is the simplest and most prevalent type of graffiti. There's also the throw up or throw. It generally consists of a one color outline and a one layer fill-in color. It's easy to paint and the letters are in bubble shape and they can also be in square shape. We have the piece. Piece is short for masterpiece. It is a large and labor-intensive painting. Pieces often incorporate 3D effects, arrows, and many colors. See, there's a lot of colors that are blending into each other. And then this piece is cut off, but you would see arrows sticking out. Finally, we have, in this example, a burner. It is a large and more elaborate piece. The piece could be said to be burning out of the wall, a billboard, or the sides of a train. Let's watch a step-by-step tutorial of how to create a name in the graffiti style. As you can see, we first have a simple writing of the word. Everybody can do this. We try to make the letters big, but not too big because we're going to be drawing around them. After you have written the word, then you're going to be outlining around the words. Most graffiti designs are connected, intersecting or on top of another part of each other. See how they're going behind. Whenever the lines are going to touch, you just skip that line and that creates the illusion of being on the back. You will be outlining around the pencil. Step 3. you are going to be filling in the basic color. In this example, the artist is using markers. We will be using markers for our practice, but then we are going to be using colored pencils and blending techniques for our final production. You can add a darker tone on the bottom of your name. This is going to create a nice transition. You then can add more details by drawing a design on the graffiti. You can choose any type of design you want. Metallic, balloon, fluffy, gummy, sparkly. The artist here chose to do crack lines as a sample. You must not forget to do the shadows, a drop shadow. When you're making your shadows, always do them on the same side to create the illusion of light on one side, shadow on the other. Imagine there's a light coming from any one of the sides, and then if it's coming from the right side, your shadow should be on the left of all of your letters. This is a different kind of graffiti design. The previous one, as you can see, is very curvy and bubbly. Now this other design is going to be a little more straight and angled. So here we have the word WikiHow. You're going to write the outline of the letters. After you write the outline of the letters, then you are going to do the same outline that you did for the previous word, but in this case you're going to keep all your lines very straight and angular. And in order to create the illusion of one letter being in front of the other, you are going to skip any of the lines that you are crossing so that they seem to be behind. After that, you're going to erase all of your pencil marks. We don't want any pencil marks. So you have to do your pencil marks very lightly. Then, like the other one, you're going to create your lines or your colors with markers inside of the letters. It's up to you how you want to decorate it. You add the highlights, shadows, and then there's a shadow on the left-hand side. Well, this shadow is actually all around the word. You can add as many more designs as you need to in order to make your drawing a big, nice masterpiece production. You can see the shines here. I want to show you here, you leave spaces without color to create the illusion of shiny bubbles, and then with a colored pencil you can add shine. So notice where my cursor is pointing. There's going to be a shine here, and there's going to be a shine here, and that was added by using colored pencils on top of the marker. And that's the two basic ways that you can create a simple graffiti name. Now it's time for you to practice in your sketchbook. You are going to practice how to make a tag, a throw up, and a piece. You're going to use one sheet of your sketchbook per exercise. It's 3 total. We're going to exercise by creating a tag using only your your 2 initials, your first name and last name. So you're only going to be using 2 letters. Your tag should look something like this example. This is a whole name, and then the tag is King. You see, it's just a black and white, and it's a stylized version of your name. But you're not going to do your name, you're just going to do your initials in big letters. You need to use your entire page. Next, when you're done with your tag, you will create a throw up. Do you remember what a throw up is? A throw up is bubble letters of your tag, but it has 2 colors, the color for the outline and then the color for inside. So a throw up is more elaborate than your tag. You will create a throw up after you are finished with your tag. Throw up goes in the second page of your sketchbook. When you're done with your throw up, Then it is time for you to practice creating a piece or a masterpiece. Remember that a masterpiece has more than one color inside of your letters. It has a 3D effect outside. It has shines. It has a lot of style. So your third practice of your first name and last name initials is going to happen in your third page of your sketchbook. And that is our first part of our 3-part creating our name in graffiti style.